this is Amanda Johns-Vaden here, and I work with Southwestern Consulting. So just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the differences between men and women in today's workplace. Now, if you're watching this video, I would bet that you work with people of the opposite gender. And I would bet that you have some benefits and challenges to those individuals that you work with. So for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just going to give you some tips and ideas on how to improve communication with the opposite sex. But the first thing you need to know is why conflict happens. And the number one reason that conflict happens between men and women's communication is that there is a set of unmet expectations. Now, if you think about it in terms of simple communication, more on the business side, not your home life, here's what I want you to think about. Men actually cause conflict because they leave out important details. But women, they cause conflict because they focus on too many details. So if you take that one tiny example and you think about how that applies to your business life, I bet you could go backwards in time and think about how many arguments or unnecessary issues had to be resolved due to a lack of information or a focus on too much. Let me put it to you this way. The average male actually speaks 12,500 words in any given day, right? Not too bad. The average female, however, speaks 25,000 words on that exact same day. Now, for you mathematicians out there, what does that mean? Yep, women actually speak twice as much as the average man. Now, actually, I had a lady one time who came up to me and she said, "Now, Amanda, you know why that is, right?" And I was like, "Please, do tell." And she said, "Well, that's because women have to repeat everything we say." So whether or not that's true, the point I want you to hold on to is the difference in how we communicate the exact same thing. So when you think about communication conflict, it's the focus or the lack of details, the lack of the words that we use to actually share the exact same point. Now with that, words have a lot of meaning to them. And here's what we have found is the second point of conflict between men and women today. It's not only the words that we say, but it's the intent behind the words that we say. Let me give you a couple of examples. About 3 years ago, we did a large focus group study with 100 men and 100 women. And we just wanted to know, when you say certain things at business or in your personal life, what is the real intent, the real expectation that you hope happens as a result of saying those things? So we took some everyday phrases, everyday questions, and we asked the men, and then we asked the women to see, now really truly, how different is our communication, and does that really create conflict? So I'll give you just a couple of examples of what we found. So when we had our male group, we asked them a very simple question. We said, "Gentlemen, when you say the words, 'I'm sorry,' what does that actually mean to you? In other words, what's the expectation of what you hope happens next?" And here's what we found, is that the average male in our focus group actually said, "Well, you know what, Amanda, when we say we're sorry, what we mean is conversation over, discussion's ending, we can move on now." Now, that's very interesting because when we asked women the exact same question, and we said, "Ladies, can you tell us what you mean, what your expectation is when you say those simple words, 'I'm sorry'?" It was a very different response. And it did not mean conversation over. It actually meant conversation begins now. This is an invitation to discuss. This is not the ending of a discussion, it's the beginning. But here's something I thought was very fascinating, is that ladies said, "Well, when I say I'm sorry, the first thing I expect is that there would be some reciprocity, that he too is sorry for what happened, and then we can both share in what happened and why." Now, here's the craziest thing about that. This goes back all the way to a biological makeup. In fact, psychologists have found that there are over 100 structural differences between the male brain and the female brain. So this is not social economics. These are not social norms. These are not stereotypes. These are biological differences that cause conflict in the way that we communicate. So as you watch this video, I have one key takeaway from you. Watch out what you say and what you mean. just watch out in the way that you use words to the opposite gender. And don't expect that what your intent is the intent of the other person. You just want to take a second and just think about for a moment, okay, am I saying what I really mean, or am I actually clarifying the details for the man? And for the woman, it's, am I sharing too much? Am I talking too much? And in the case of those 25,000 words, we may be. But the first step in improving communication is just setting better expectations.